Hello all, welcome to Mahoja Institute of Technology's next event. So I am Kiran Ram Babu, the Director of Training for Mahoja Institute of Technology. We here provide multiple training across the technologies related to automation, cloud technologies, DevOps, RPA, programming, and much more. So today it's the day for Java workshop. So with me I have my trainer Ashok Raj available. So he will be instructing you on this particular session. Before we get on to the session, I would just like to remind you this session is eligible for certificate provided you need to submit the feedback form and also submit the screenshot of your own application or whatsoever task you are doing with your name somewhere in the screenshot. Thank you all. Stay safe. Get yourself sanitized, vaccinated, and enjoy the session. Ashok,
Thank you, HRB.
yeah, you can take over.
Yeah.
Thanks all.
Okay. Good evening to everyone. So now we will start our Java workshop. So just give me a couple of minutes. I'm just setting up my laptop and I will be sharing my screen. HRB, can you accept my connection?
Yeah, I'm providing the access. Just a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, I've given you the access. Can you able to check it?
Yes, yes, I'm doing it.
Thank you.
Okay, and I hope my screen is visible to everyone. HRB, is it visible for you?
Yeah, it is visible.
Okay, fine. Okay. So now we'll start our session with Java workshop. So what are the things we are going to do today is that we are going to see fundamentals of Java in this workshop, and we will try to understand mainly on how data types is managed in Java, and exactly how a JVM, what is JRE, what is JDK. We are going to discuss all those things, and we're going to see those things in live, and also we will see about looping and conditional statements in Java, and we'll do some specific task today. So that is the agenda today. So I hope that everyone has NetBeans installed in your system so that you can follow up the codings whatever I do in my own system. So before getting into the actual coding part, I would like to say a few things about the environment setup. Environment setup in the sense, what are the things we need to do before start developing a Java code. So whatever screen you are seeing, it is called NetBeans IDE. That is, it is a editor for Java where we type our code and save it. So this is a pure Java based editor. So it has its inbuilt Java compiler also. So why we use these type of editor is the reason is that these are all intelligent editors. Why in the sense, I'll just show you a sample. When I am typing itself, it will show me the syntax of the code what I am going to type based on the characters which I have already typed. So it will help you to remember the syntaxes in a very formal method, and also it has the ability to show the error even when you are typing it. So you don't need to compile anything. Before compiling itself, it can show you the error like this. So it says not a statement. When I make a correction, the error will be going. So these are the advantages of using editor. Java can be also developed using simple notepad, but this is the only reason why we go for IDE. IDE help us to create the code in a more faster way and efficient way, and it also suggests the better way to do the coding. Okay, fine. So the first thing what we are going to see is what is the basic structure of a Java program. So whatever thing you are seeing in your screen is the basic structure of a Java program. See, Java is purely based on a concept called OOPS. That is, it is a pure object oriented language. That is, Java cannot run without class method. That is, even in C plus also support OOPS, but C plus can run without class declaration. But Java is a 100% OOPS concept, so it cannot run without a class method. So that is why we always start our program saying it is a class. So that is what it mentions. So I will cover what is this public means in the later parts. So that is why you always start a Java program with class and a class name. It starts with a curly bracket and ends with a curly bracket. And in between, we'll have a function called public static void main. This is a default function which any class will be having in Java. Not we cannot say any class, most of the classes. A class which needs to execute it all by itself will have this particular function. So why this function is very important and why it has its own importance. The reason is that a class cannot execute all by itself. This is the only function which can initiate a class. The reason is that, see, whenever Java JRE, that is a Java runtime environment, sees a class to be executed, it searches for a function called main. Okay, it always searches for a function called main. Only from the main function, the execution will be starting. So that is why we always name this function as a main. And void. Void is nothing but whether this function will return any value outside or not. If it is not going to return anything outside, then we'll keep it as void. So these two parts we'll be covering it later. So this is the basic structure of a Java. We call it as a skeleton of Java. So it does not have any life. This program does not any life. It just has a structure of Java. So that is why we call it a skeleton. If I try to run this program, we will get no results. We'll just get a empty screen. See, this bottom section is for viewing the output. So you will not get any output. That is why we call it as a skeleton. It does not have any life. So in later part, we'll start giving some life to it. So now before going to Java, I want to discuss three main topics. And what are they are? JDK, JRE, and JV. We always have these three parts in Java. Even while installing your Java application, you would have been seeing these names repeatedly coming on the screen. What JDK means is it is a tool which enables you to develop a Java application. That is why it is called Java Development Kit. It contains all functions, all helper classes, all inbuilt functions, everything inside it, so that making use of that, we can develop our own Java application. And what is JRE is? JRE is nothing but a platform which runs the application that you have created using JDK. So Java community has divided itself into two sections. One is development section and another one is run section. So JDK is used to develop your application and JRE is used to run your application. Now you will have a question called, then what is the part of JVM? Because there is only two steps in making application. One you develop and second you run it. So both the things are done by JDK and JRE. Then what does JVM do? JVM is the part which gives you the feasibility to run the application on any OS. As discussed in the previous webinar on Java, we said that Java will be running on any OS developed from any OS. That is, you can develop your Java application on Windows and you can execute it on your Linux and vice versa. So which feature that enables this one is JVM. It is called Java Virtual Machine. Java Virtual Machine, what it does is it helps JRE to run the application. So JRE and JVM are like partners. They go hand in hand. They work together. So JRE runs the application using JVM. So JVM will be sitting on top of every OS. It is maybe Windows or Linux, whatever it is. So it will be sitting on top of the OS. So JRE will be using JVM to run the application. So your Java application will not directly run on the OS. It runs on the JVM. That is why your Java program is always able to run on any OS. It looks like it is running on the OS, but exactly it is not running on the OS. It is been running on the JVM. So that is why we get this particular feature. So coming back to our program. So what is a program literally means? In computer field, a program is nothing but a language used to talk to a computer. See, when I'm have to talk with my colleague, I'll just talk with English, or I'll talk with Tamil or Telugu, whatever it is. So he or she may understand that language and react based on those instructions. But a computer does not understand any human language. So what we have done is we have created a program called as computer language. So we need to speak with the computer using these languages. So that is why we have come to a part called computer programming. And one of the computer programming language is called Java, and that is what we are seeing today. So whenever we take a language, there is always something called grammar. Why we use grammar? Because grammar gives a set of instructions and rules to follow so that you can use that language in a efficient way. Like that, Java also has its own grammar, and that grammar is called as Java syntax. Any computer program language will be based on its own syntax. Only when you follow the syntax properly, you can develop your application properly. Because without grammar, nobody will understand your language. Without syntax, computer will not understand your programming language. So syntax is a very, very important point in creating any program, sorry, in any computer language. And the next part is that important part of a programming language is data and variable. So data and variable is a very important part. So what is a data? Data is nothing but some information what you want to communicate with your computer. That is called data. If you want to say a student name, that name is called a data. If you want to say some student's age, that age is called data. Mark is a data. So any information that you want to communicate with your computer, that is called data. So data cannot be directly passed to a computer. It must be passed with a variable. So what a variable is? A variable is nothing but a holder which holds the data. For if you want to get a real-time example, if some relative come to your home, what you will do? You will give a tumbler of water so that they can relax themselves. So how you give it? You what you want to give is water. So you cannot give water directly. So you pour it inside a tumbler and you give it the tumbler to them. So they will take from the tumbler. That is the normal human procedure. In same way, data is water and your variable is your tumbler. So you cannot give data directly. So you put your data inside a variable and you give it to them. So that is the relationship between a data and a variable. So now I will declare a simple data for you. Int a equal to 10. So in this line, a is called the variable. That means it is going to contain a data. And what is the data? 10. So this is the relationship between data and variable. So for the past couple of minutes, we were talking about data and variable. We are talking only about two terms. So a is variable, 10 is data. Now you can see a third word called int. That is called data type. So coming back to our real-time example. When a relative comes to a home, we give them a tumbler. Inside the tumbler, there can be water, there can be cold water, it can be a hot water, it can be a coffee, it can be a tea, it can be a cool drink, whatever it can be. So it has many types, right? So that is a drink, but the drink has many types. So in the same way, a data can be of many types. So some of the uh, frequently used or primitive data types are integer. So integer means it is going to have a whole number. Whole number in the sense 1, 2, 3, 10, like that. It is going to be a whole number. That is what a integer means. And another type is called float. Float in the sense it is going to have a decimal point. So decimal point in the sense it's going to have, if you want to mention something in rupees, that is 100 rupee 50 paise, those things cannot be given in int. Int can only hold whole numbers. If you want to give a decimal number, you have to go for a float. Or if you want to give a character, a single character, so that is called C. So now you can see there is a difference between int A and character C. When I'm giving value 10, I have simply typed 10. But when I'm giving A, I have used single quotes. So whenever you are going to mention a data with alphabet, that must be enclosed within a single quote. That is the syntax of Java. A number can be mentioned as it is, but a alpha can be mentioned only within a single quote. Now, if I want to give a complete name like Java, then we are going to use something called string. So difference between character and string is that character can hold only one single alphabet, but string can hold a group of alphabet. It can hold anything. Java is a beautiful language. And I can also include special character. I can include numbers, anything I can include. So this is how we manage data and variable in Java. So data management contains of three things. One is data, variable, and data type. So now what I have done is I have given some data. Now I want to print those data and see how they are coming in my output screen. So to print, Java already have a inbuilt function. You need not to write any code. You need to just call those function. And thus that function is called system.println. So this has two types of variant. As you see on the screen, it is system.err println and another one is system.out.println. What is that? Both are going to print something. If you are going to print some error statement, you need to use err. If you are going to print some normal information, you will be using out. So I will give both the examples now. I am going to use error. This is a error statement. And if I'm going to use normal, okay, now I'm going to execute. You can see the difference all by yourself. See, error statement will be coming in a red format and normal will be in a black format. This is the only difference. So, so whenever you want to give us something error information, we need to use ERR, that is short form of error. Otherwise, you need to use out. Now, to print, what I have done is I have used three different keywords: system, error, and println. There are three different keywords. Why I'm using three different keywords is simple. System, the word system, what it mentions is this console where I need to print. You need to print in the system console. This white area is called system console. So that is what I'm saying, system console. How I need to print, whether I need to print in error format or output format. Print in error format. So we have two commands called println and print. The difference between println and print is that println will always give a enter, or mean it will give you a new line after printing the command. If you just give print, it will not give you a new line. That is the only difference between println and print. So you can use error.print or println to print your statement. So this is how we go for printing a statement in Java. Now what I need to print is that I need to print the value of a. How I'm going to print it? So it is very simple. So a value equal to. So I'm just running this program. So I will get a value equal to, but I'm not getting the value of a. So what I need to do is I need to give this variable, I mean concatenate. I'm going to concatenate. Concatenate is a normal English term which says that I'm going to merge two different statements. So this double quotes is a statement and this is a value. I'm going to concatenate. So it will merge them and convert it into one single statement. So as you see here, it will convert into one single statement. So that plus is a concatenation indicator. So in Java, plus can be used to add two different values as well as it can be used to concatenate two different values based on the situation. So later parts we will see those also. So this is the basic of any Java program. So skeleton of Java, data and variable of Java with its data types and how to print it. So now we know how to give data and retrieve data. So now what we are going to do is that we are going to do a simple arithmetic operation, and we're going to understand how exactly a Java works with the arithmetic operation. So whenever I need to do arithmetic operation, the fundamental is that we need minimum two variables, because to add, subtract, multiply and divide you need at least two variables. So I'm going to declare two variables, a equal to 10, int b equal to 15. So now I'm going to add it, a plus b. So if we do like this, it will trigger a error for you because it is not a complete statement. Whenever you add two things, you need a third variable to hold the result. So that is what we called C. It is not that we need to always name it is ABC. We can name as we want. So here I am going to put it as result. So what happens is that Java will add A and B and store the output in result variable. So when I want to view the result, I need to print the result variable. So result equal to 25. So this is how a basic addition operation happens. Not only addition, all arithmetic operations happens in the same way based on the operator we mentioned. See, now here I have used this plus operator in two places, in line number 22 as well as in line number 24. But it has reacted in a different way. Here it is doing addition, here it is doing concatenation. How? The reason is, if on both the sides, that is on the left side as well as on the right side, if it has a number, it will add. If on any one side it is having any string, it will concatenate. This is the work of a plus operator. So a plus operator makes a addition when on both sides it has a number. When any one side is having a string, it will do concatenation. So that is how it works. So that is why here both the sides we have number, so it makes addition. Here in one side we have string, so it makes a concatenation. So this is the core thing of Java. So you might think these are all small things, but these are all minute things on which a bigger Java application is built. So we need to understand how each and every line works in Java so that we can become an expert in it. Okay, now coming back to Java part. So the next thing what we are going to see is that we are going to see a small condition statement. A condition statement is nothing but saying that you need to do one particular instruction only when a condition is true. For example, I'm going to give a just a real time example. When we will put fuel to our vehicle only when fuel goes down below your reserve. So the condition is that when the petrol is below reserve, put fuel. So the action is putting reloading your fuel, but condition is checking whether it is below reserve. So in the same so in the same way, we are going to do a condition. So I am going to find which number is greater, with either A or either B. So, and another information is that Java syntax is mainly built on English words. So, most syntax and most functions will be literally meaningful. So, I'm going to check whether A is greater than B. So, it is just simple if A is greater than B. I'm going to print A is greater. See, simple. It is just a common English. It says that if A is greater than B, print A is greater. So I'm going to run the program. So it will not print anything. Why? Because A is 10, B is 15. So definitely A is not greater. So this condition will not work. So now I need to print B is greater. So what I will do is that else. So else is also a normal English word which says that if above thing is not working, do this part. So if A is not greater, just print B is greater. So see B is greater. So it is a normal English term which is converted into a Java syntax. So when we start feeling the syntaxes, it will be very, very easy. Instead of memorizing, we need to just go by the flow of English in Java. So that makes your job very, very simple. So this is not the only operator we can use. We can also use less than symbol, greater than or equal to. The difference between greater than and greater than or equal to is that this loop works when A is greater than B. That means if A is 10, this condition will not work because it will expect 10 is greater than 10. No, 10 is equal to 10. So this loop will not work. It will go and print B is greater. But if I say equal to also, it will check A can be greater than 10 or A can be equal to 10. In those conditions, this is becoming true and it will print A is greater. So that is the difference between using greater or greater than equal to. So these two have different values. And the third and another thing is that whenever I will need to check whether A is equal to B, I know I need not to have A is greater than smaller, and I'm just going to check whether A is equal to B. I cannot use single equal to. I need to use A equal to B. So you need to use 2 equal to. So here we might have a question why we need to use 2 equal to. If you take any programming language, you will always have 2 equal to's to compare numbers. Okay. So I'm going to say why it is so. When you use single equal to, it is used for assigning a data to a variable. That means your right side will be your data, left side will be a variable. So single equal to is used for assigning a data to a variable. So single equal to cannot be used inside a if. That is why we are using double equal to. So there is no other special reason for it. The reason is very simple. Single equal to means value assignment. Double equal to means value comparison. That is what we are doing here. Now, when we look into this Java NetBeans, there is something called a project section here. This is not a part of Java. It is a part of NetBeans. So whenever you open your Java code, it will be residing inside your folder. Your folder name can be anything. In this case, that is in my laptop, it is Java core. But in terms of Java, we will not call it as a folder. We will call it as a package. So whenever you start writing your Java code, you need to mention the package name. The package name is always equal to your folder name. So in Java, it is called package, not a folder. Okay, so this is the basic coding of a Java. Now we are going to see how a Java program is being exactly executed. So to see how it is exactly executed, you need to have an understanding about this folder structure. That is why I'm speaking about the package. Can you see the file name? What is written here? Java core dot Java. That means whenever a file is ending with an extension called Java, it means it is a raw file containing a coding. It is not a executable file. So whenever I am running this file, actually this Java file is not running. At the backend, it will be creating a file called java core.class. That is the one which is exactly being executed. So I am going to show you that particular file. Okay, now you are seeing my folder structure. So see here, I have a folder called Java core. In this folder only, I am having all my Java related files. So here I'm going to show you what are the files we are getting created while writing a Java program. So here you have something called SRC. SRC is nothing but a short form of source. So inside the source, we have all the source file. This is all .java files. It contains the exact coding of a Java. We can even open it with simple notepad and see how it is. So to open those things, we do not need any special application. We can just simply open with notepad. That is what core Java, that is what .java file is being. So your JRE will never ever execute this Java file. So JRE is not dependent on .java file. .java file is being used by JDK. That means it is used by development kit to write and store your Java codings. It is not executed. Then what is executed? So that is called classes. So here I have something called the same file names. You can see all the file names are same, but it is ending in dot class, dot class, dot class. This is the file which is been used by JRE and JVM to execute. So whenever I am right clicking and pressing run, this is the file is being executed. So now you might ask a question why it needs two different files. One is .java and .class. Why? See, .java is a file written in English language. It is a high level programming. That is, it is written in English syntax. So it will not be understandable by your system. So what your Java compiler is doing, it is converting everything into a byte code which is understandable by the JVM and converts it as .class file. So your JVM opens this .class file, it will read the bytecode and work according to it. So that is why we are having two different files. So .java is for us and for JDK to develop the application, and .class file is being created by Java compiler so that JVM and JRE can execute the application. So these are the two different files we are using. So coming back to our NetBeans. Fine. So now we have an understanding about what are the two files we are using in Java development. So now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to run a statement which can execute itself multiple times. That is what we called as looping statement. We have two different statements in Java. One is conditional statement and another one is looping statement. This if is called conditional statement. Why? This line executes only when a condition is true. But looping statement is not like that. It runs multiple times. If I want to print hello, hello, hello for 10 times, I need not to write system.out.println hello 10 times. I can write it only once and say Java, print this statement 10 times. So that is called looping statement. So we are going to just have a brief look into that. Okay, this is a simple looping statement. So here I have used a counter variable. We call this variable as a counter variable. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to print the statement called hello 10 times. So if I'm going to do a work multiple times, I need a counter. For example, in real time. So I believe most of you have seen cricket. So each over contains 6 balls. So who manages that is the field umpire. What the field umpire will have, he will have a ticker in his hand. So what the umpire will do is whenever each valid ball is being bowled, he just press the ticker once. So whenever 6 times the ticker is pressed, it will be considered as a over. That means he is counting what is happening. So here also I need someone to count how many times it has been printed. That is what this counter variable does. So I'm going to print it 10 times. So the starting value is 1. I need to do it until the counter becomes 10. So that is why I have said while count is less than 10, you just print it. And next step, what I have done is once you have printed, just I'm increasing the counter by 1. That is, I am pressing the ticker once. So count value keeps on increasing. So I will also print the count variable here. So we'll execute this program and see. So you can see hello is being printed 10 times and each hello will be partnered with the count variable hello 1. That means in this step the count variable value was 1. When it comes to the next line, it has been increased by 2. So whenever it prints for the next time, it becomes 2. Like that, it keeps on printing until it is 10. So it goes and check. After 10, it becomes 11 and it goes and check 11 is less than or equal to 10. Obviously, 11 is not less than or equal to 10. So the while loop ends. So the printing also stops. So this is what we called a looping statement. So this is the difference between a conditional statement and a looping statement. A conditional statement works only once when a condition is satisfied. It works only once when a condition is satisfied. But a looping statement works n number of times until unless the condition becomes false. So whenever the condition is satisfied, it keeps executing. So if I have not given this count incrementer, count will always be remaining 1. This condition will never ever become false. So it will be keep on printing hello, 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 hello. So that will crash your system. So that is why we are doing an incremental operation here to stop the execution when we reach the particular count. So now what we have seen is that still now we have seen the skeleton basic structure of your program, and also we have seen variable, how to assign variable, what are data, what is data type. We have seen a simple conditional statement. Also we have seen a simple looping statement. Now coming back to the syntax of Java. So syntax of Java in the sense, Java is a strictly or 100% OOPS concept programming language. OOPS concept means OOPS concept always works with a condition called object class. So what is a class? A class is nothing but a structure of what application we are developing. For example, I'm going to develop a software which is going to store my staff information. So I will just create a class, and I can just say what all the informations I'm going to collect from my staff. So this is how I can easily manage my stuff. So this class says that there is something I'm going to do with the staff, and these are all the data I'm going to collect on behalf of the staff. So these are called attributes, and these are called class name. So a class contains two sets of information. One is attributes and another one is functions. And now what we are seeing is attribute. Now what we are going to see is functions. Function are nothing but what this staff can do. A staff can take attendance. A staff can create mark sheet. So this is called a complete Java class. A class will have a class name. It will have attributes. What are the things we are going to store on behalf, and what are the actions it is going to do. So actions are called as functions, and values are called as attributes. So this is what we call as a complete Java class. So only with a class it can be working as a Java program. Now here I will explain what is the importance of main function. So now here I have a class, and also I have another class Java core. So Java core will be executable as we are seeing it for the past half an hour. But if I try to execute stop file, it will not execute. See, it will show a error called Java staff does not have a main method. Why? Because your Java program, your Java environment, that is your JRE, always looks for a function called as main. Only with a main function, your class can be executable. Without your main class, your class will not be executable. So if I want to execute this function, I need to have a main function. Okay, now I have a main function, but still now we see whether it is executable or not. Since still it is giving me the same error, it is not having a main method. Why? That the reason is that this word called public, here it is public, here it is private. This is very important thing. With this one, we are going to conclude the workshop. What is called private and what is called public? So to show that, I will just open my paint and I will just explain what is private and what is public. Okay, so I hope the my paint is all visible to everyone. So this bigger circle is called the Java environment. Let us consider this is your JRE. Your JRE is running on top of your operating system. So your JRE is here, and your Java class, that is your class file is here. That is your executable file is here. For example, staff dot class. So now your JRE will be trying to execute your Java file. So it is calling from outside. That means it is a different entity and this is a different entity. So whenever it tries to call a function, only if the function is public, it will be accessible by another entity. If it is private, your JRE, which is outside the class, will not be able to access it. For example, in real-time example, if there are two houses near, so my neighbor cannot use my private properties. My neighbor can only use which are all properties are mentioned as public. Same way, only when a function is being coined as public, it can be used by everyone. Otherwise, it cannot be used by everyone. It can be only self-used. So that is why your main function must be always mentioned as public so that your JRE will be able to execute your main function. Otherwise, it will not be able to execute your class. So that is the main reason why we are mentioning it as public. So now I'm just turning this private into public part. So if I execute, it will give me a proper information. So since I have not given any print statement, it is empty, but it has been successfully executed. So this is how your basic Java works. So on this Java, we'll be writing more and more functions and logics so that we can create a multiple thing. So now I will just show you what are the types of Java program we can create. So whenever I right click my package, I will be having a small pop-up which will have a new option, and in that new option you will have a several other sub options. So what is that? I'll just go for other options so that I can show you the entire thing. Okay, see here in Java, we have many different subtypes. Number one is a Java class. Java class is a pure Java program. If you are going to create any advanced OOPS concept, we can use this interface or enum. Or if you are going to use or going to create any UI kind of thing, we can go for applets. So Java has many different sub functions which is concentrated on its own usage. So we can create many types of Java program inside the same package itself. For example, if I create something called JFrame, it is mainly mentioned for UI creation. So what this does is it just gives me a drag and drop option to create my desktop applications. See, it has given me a simple thing. So here I will have a palette. I will have many UI options. You can see it my screen's right corner. So I can create many things. If I want to, if I want a button, I can just drag and drop a button. If I want a input field, there will be something called text field. You can just drag and drop. So you can simply create our own UI using drag and drop. So this is how we can create a desktop application with simple drag and drop options using NetBeans. This is also possible with Eclipse, but in NetBeans it is pre-built. In Eclipse, we need to install certain plugins to enable this option. So these are the basics of Java. So further things we'll be covering in our courses. Hiran Rambabu? Hiran?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So we can stop over here. So this will be the enough part for workshop.
Okay.
So advanced topics we can do it on our course packages.
Okay. Fine.
So if there is any question, I'll be ready to answer.
How many of you, first of all, like I have a question, like how many of them have first tried with you or tried working on their NetBeans? Is there anyone like that? You can raise your hand, or you can unmute and speak, or you can put it on the chat. Okay, if you have your NetBeans installed, can you able to print your name and then like take a screenshot and put it on the conversation box? That would help us. Any questions? Queries? Okay, so 3 questions to Ashok.
So does anyone has any other doubts to be clarified, or you want to initiate any new topic?
Okay, as we have like said, you guys will be eligible for the certificate if you submit the feedback form we have given in the conversation. And also, please provide a screenshot of printing your name on your NetBeans IDE.
So is there any other doubts we have so that we can discuss, or shall we? Is there any other questions on the chat?
No, no more question. And just to reiterate, like we are starting a new batch on Java programming, that is Core Java, from tomorrow. The course fees would be like for the students, it will be like coming around uh, somewhere around like 2,500. And if you submit some kind of like share it on the social media, some sort of a tag with us, you will be getting another 1,500 off, and then you will be like charging for a very low price. So the session starts from tomorrow. Tomorrow evening, like uh, around 6 the session starts. So if you are interested, please submit in the feedback form with your interest. And if no more questions, we can close the call. Just to remind you, the feedback form is available on the chat. Please click it and start submitting your feedbacks. And we would like to say like not just feedback, we need your screenshot with your name printed. Okay, Ashok, there are no questions,
Okay.
like wait for some more time.
Okay, fine. Okay.
If you have submitted, you can hop off if you don't have any other questions.
Okay, JB. So, HRB, shall we wind up and we'll meet tomorrow for the session?
Yes, please. Thank you, sir.
Okay, fine, fine. Okay, thank you, HRB.
Thank you.